Hi everyone! When you send an approval workflow into Teams using adaptive cards, for every new step when the process needs inputs from the user, there is a new card created and sent. Do you know that right now there is a new trigger in Power Automate which allows to get inputs from the users and refresh the existing card generated in Microsoft Teams? Let me walk you through every step in order to use this nice new addition. But before to jump in, thank you to Hornetsecurity for sponsoring this video. Microsoft is one of the major drivers of worldwide migration into the cloud. Enterprise customers exchange and upload confidential and critical data daily, a fact that cybercriminals are very well aware of. Hornetsecurity offers a set of powerful technologies like 365 Total Protection Enterprise, which increase the protection and security of your Microsoft 365 environment. Stick around until the end of this video, I will talk more about it. Okay, let's get started. Here I am in Microsoft Teams. I am connected as Adele Events. In order to show you how you can refresh an existing adaptive card in Microsoft Teams with an approval workflow step, I'm going to start by requesting a new travel request. This is the scenario. As an end user, as a normal end user of Adele Events in this case, I'm going to use form to submit a new request. This request will be stored in a SharePoint list, and a new entry in the list will trigger a Power Automate flow that will send an adaptive card to Microsoft Teams on a specific channel, and then there will be an approval step to perform. So now let's trigger this self-service, and then I'll show you how you can refresh the adaptive card. So let me fill out all fields of this form. Trip title, modern workplace conference, let's add the reason for travel, training, destination, Paris, France, the travel start date, it would be on, let's say on January, 16 January, the end date 20, the airline X, estimated airfare, let's say 1,200, the hotel, best hotel, estimated hotel 700, and then let's click on the button Submit. Now I submitted my form. Let's see this information where is stored. Here I am in Microsoft Teams. I am now one of the approver. I am connected as Giuliano de Luca. As you can see in the posts of the general channel, I already received an adaptive card, and this is the request submitted by Adele Events. This is the recap. But before to interact with the adaptive card, let me show you the request where is landed. I created a specific list using the app Microsoft Lists in Teams, and adding this list in SharePoint Online, I can see now the request that is landed. I can see modern workplace, conference, training, travel requests coming from Adele Events. I can see the destination. All data that we have seen in the form are now here stored in this normal SharePoint list. The idea here is to use a dedicated Microsoft team in Microsoft Teams travel requests. Here in these teams are listed all approvers. In this case, we are 2 approvers for this process. Let me show you in Manage Team, all members of this team. I am in as owner, and then there is Diego Siciliani, which is my colleague and is able to approve every request coming. Down below we can see another user. This is the service user that I am using to orchestrate all Power Automate flows. Of course, this should be added in order to allow this user to send adaptive card in the general channel. Now in posts, we can see, as I mentioned, the adaptive card coming. Here I have all summary listed. New trip requested, modern workplace, conference, reason for travel, training submitted by Adele Events, destination Paris, France. Here I can click on the button, open a request, and this drop me on the form of the list item. Here I can see a recap of all data stored. Now let me close the tab and let me come in. Here I have a required field called comments. So let me type something here. It's not possible. I'm going to reject this workflow step. But before to do it, let me show you an alternative way that you have by reassigning this to someone else, this approval step. It's pretty cool. So clicking on the reassign, I have an extra field added, and here I can use a people picker in the adaptive card. I made a video how you can do this. Here, for example, I can add Nestor Wilkie if I want, and then I can assign to Nestor Wilkie this specific approval step. But in this case, I'm going to reject the request. It's not possible. I already added this, and now I'm rejecting the request. And now in just some seconds, we should see this card refreshing. And here we go. The same card has been refreshed. I don't have a new card just posted here, but I have the same card refreshed. Pretty cool, right? And now I can see a summary of my request. This has been rejected, requested by Adele Evans, the date, rejected by Giuliano de Luca, the date. I can still reopen it if I want. Now that has been rejected, let me change perspective and let me go again from an Adele Evans perspective. Here I'm going to open another tab of my browser, and then I'm going to open Outlook, because Adele Evans has got a new email. Here we go. This is the email just got. Adele Evans, your travel request has been rejected. This is my travel request Modern Workplace Conference. And now the process is ended. Let's start now to recreate step by step this self-service, and I'll show you how you can build up such self-service in minutes. Alright, I am back in Microsoft Teams as Giuliano De Luca. It's time to recreate the entire self-service. Let me start by creating a new dedicated team where approvers can interact with the card. So I'm going to click on the Create New Team button, and then I will start from scratch. I'm going to target a private team, and here let me type travel request. This time singular without emoji, so I can differentiate this new one with the previous one that I created. Let's click now on Create, and the team is created. Okay, now that my team is ready, I can click on the ellipsis button to add the members. I am the approver of this self-service. I want to add a second approver, which is Diego, and then I'm going to add the service user that I use to orchestrate all my Power Automate flows and to create a new form in Microsoft Forms. Let me click on the button Add, and now that they are added, we are sure that the self-service now can make posts in this channel. The second step is to create the data structure, so the database. It is a SharePoint list, so I'm going to click on the plus button, and then I'm going to use the Apple lists. Here I'm going to click again on Save. Now the new tab is added, and as a next step I'm going to click on Create a List. Just to save time, I'm going to reuse an existing template provided by Microsoft. It is this one, Travel Requests. Alright, I can use this template by clicking on it. The icon, this one is perfect, the color is also fine. Let's click on Create. In the meantime, I'm going to close some tab that I have here open. Alright, now this list is created, and I have to make some changes here. So the destination, it's a column that contains the new data field location. I don't want to deal with location because for the moment it's not yet supported in Power Automate, so I should create send HTTP request to SharePoint, and I don't want to do it. I want to keep it simple, and to do that I'm going to remove this column. Let me save the title because I'm going to reuse it. Now I'm going to click on Delete, and the destination is removed. Next to requester, I'm going to recreate a normal text column which will contain the destination, and let's click on save. Another thing that I have to modify is the hotel. In fact, if I go on this column and if I click on edit, I can see that also this column, it's a location column, and I don't want to deal with it. So let me select hotel because I'm going to reuse the same text. And now airline text, next, and this one will be my hotel. Okay, hotel added as well. This was not next to airline, but next to estimated airfare. Okay, now I have hotel and then estimated hotel cost. All right, now the last column to add, it's not approved. I don't want to use this one because by default this column yes, no, it's set or yes or no, and I don't want to provide the feeling to the user that the request is not approved or it is already approved when no action has been not taken. Then I'm going to edit this column and I'm going to click on delete. Now I'm going to add the last column, which is the status. For the status, I will use a choice column. Let me click on next. I'm going to type as a title just status, and this would be requested, approved, and rejected. Colors are fine. I'm just going to change the last one, red. It reminds better the rejected status. Okay, let's click now on save. And that was not really the last column to add because I want to provide also the approver and then the comments. So let me go now on person, next. This is the approver, the person involved in this process. And in the really last one, I'm going to add finally the approver comments. Always a text, approver comments. All right, all done. Let's click on save. My list now is ready to go. So starting from an existing template, it's pretty easy and it saves time. The list is now created. It's started in the same SharePoint behind this team travel request. I can start now to create a new Power Automate flow. Or better, I will start by creating a new form. So let me open now a new browser instance. I have already here this form. Now I can click on the button here on top forms to go back. I already have this form. I don't want to make every step. So dealing with form, it's pretty easy and pretty simple. I'm going to reopen the form. So what I added here is just a normal field which allows to add text. So I'm using the service user to orchestrate every form created in Microsoft Form. So by clicking in the insert button, you can find the text, and this is exactly what I used to create the trip title, the reason for travel, destination, the travel start date. This is a date field. So if I click on it and if I click on insert text, I can see that there is the date field. I used it for the start date and for the travel end date. Then I have again another text field for airline, estimated airfare, hotel, and estimated hotel again. All fields are required, and when you have done with this, you can then collect responses. You can define which user is able to fill out this form. Then you can create a shortened URL if you want. You can copy it and then you can share this URL across Outlook or Microsoft Teams or in any other way which is suitable for you. All right, now this thing it's done. It's time now to build 3 flows in Power Automate. Okay, here I have already an instance open. I will start from the first one, which is the Power Automate flow that is triggered when a new form in Microsoft Form is submitted. Let me start to create by clicking on the button Create, Automated Cloud Flow, and this is travel request. I'm going to call it TR form submission. Okay, I'm going to use exactly this form when a new response is submitted, and then let's click on Create. Now I can start by targeting the form that I created. It is this one, travel request. As a next step, if you want to grab responses from a form, what you have to use, it is another action under the connector Microsoft Forms, which is called Get Response Details. And here you have to provide the response ID, which comes from the previous step. All right, let me target travel request form, and voila. All set up, I have my responses, and now I can start to create a new item in SharePoint. Let me type here SharePoint so I can select this connector, and then I'm going just to filter the action. I'm going to type create just to have the create item action already available. Here I have to add the URL, which is not visible. I think I have already copied this before. It is this one. It is the site travel request. Let me recopy this URL. Let me now click on OK. Now the list appear, call it travel requests. I have to provide the title, and this comes from the responses of my form, trip title. The reason, let me filter here, reason for travel. Requester claims, this is the requester, and here I have to provide a custom value. I have here the responder's email, that is perfect. Okay, now this is added. The destination is here, travel start date. Let me click on see more, travel start date is here. Let me click on see more again, travel end date. Airline, let me add another custom value, it is this one. Okay. Estimated airfare, finally the hotel, which is here. Let me filter again per estimated hotel. Now the status value, it is requested, of course, and then I will leave approver claims blank and approvers comments blank as well. The request is not yet approved or rejected. Okay, the first flow is ready to go. I'm going to save. And now let me go back because I need to create a second flow. Create a new automated cloud flow, and it would be my travel request send adaptive card. So here I'm going to select when an item is created or modified for SharePoint. Let's click now on the trigger to add the SharePoint site that I have copied before. So now that is added, by clicking on the button OK, I can select the list travel requests. And next I'm going to add a condition because I need to send an adaptive card just when the status is equal to requested. Status value is equal to, I can type here, requested. Voila. And here I'm going to use now the Teams connector. Microsoft Teams, and then I'm going to use post adaptive card in a chat or channel. I'm going to post as a flow bot, post in a channel. Now I have to target the team, which is travel request, and the channel is the general channel. Here I have to provide my adaptive card. I have this copied before. I'm going to add this one now. How you can build the adaptive card? I have here another tab open, and here you can find the designer in adaptivecards.io. This is pretty helpful when you deal with adaptive card. Now here I have the card payload editor. I'm going, just to simplify things, to add this payload that I already created. Here you can target the platform where you want to send the adaptive card, in my case Microsoft Teams, which supports the target version 1.4. And this is my card, how it looks like. I have new trip requested, and here I have a dynamic value, reason for travel, submitted by, destination. Here I can open the list item in my SharePoint list. Here I can provide the comments and then the action that I want to take. It's pretty easy to work in this way. You can build up the adaptive card in just a matter of minutes. Here you have all components that you want to add, and that's it. So let me go back now on my flow. I already added now the card here. I have just to review every step here. So here I have to provide the title. The dynamic value panel doesn't show up, but now yes. So I'm going to click on title. So now the title is in. I copied this from the step before, but just to be sure that every value is added properly, I'm going to re-click again, and let me select now reason, so I'm totally sure that the value comes from the list. This is the requestor display name. Let me target another field so the dynamic panel value shows up. Submitted by, this one is the requestor display name. Here we have destination. Again, I'm going to click on another field, and then on destination, just let me filter this field, destination. In the last one is the link to the item. So let me re-click here. It is a little bit on top, and here I can type link to item. Okay, now I have several other actions. Here I have an action set with the approve, submit. This is the ID coming from SharePoint. So just to be sure that this one is corrected, I'm going to remove every SP list item ID. This is the data which is sent when the user click on the button, on every button available in the card. When the user does this, it sends to another Power Automate flow these parameters, the action, the SP list item, and so on. So let me now go on here on the ID of my SharePoint list. It is this one. I have again another SP list item to add. And finally the last one. Okay, my card now is ready to go. Really and absolutely important step to perform. Just to be sure that when the user click on every button available on the card and submit the card, call a specific Power Automate flow eventually to refresh the card, to refresh the adaptive card available in the channel of Microsoft Teams. So you have to provide this value in this field card type ID, because you have to reuse it later. Adaptive card, and this is the travel request ID. Travel request, AC underscore travel request. I'm going to copy this value because it is absolutely important in the next flow to create. All right, the second flow is created. Great. I can now proceed with the third one, which is also the last one. Now let's click Automated Cloud Flow, and as a trigger I want to use Teams, and in the title, travel request, adaptive card response. Okay, now scrolling down, you should find a new action available. If this is not available, just select one trigger and then let's click on create. Now this trigger is not yet available in the previous panel with the list, so there is a workaround. I'm going to click on the delete action, and then I'm going to target again Microsoft Teams, and finally you should see this one, when someone responds to an adaptive card. This trigger is only available in the default environment of Power Automate. Keep in mind that I hope that in the future will come also for additional environments. So let me select this one. Now, if you remember for the previous step, here you have to copy the payload of your adaptive card. This because you can reuse parameters in the card instead of adding additional parts JSON. Now let me add the payload that I copied before. And now to make this trigger work properly, you have to remove every dynamic value that you have on this card. So I'm going to do this. All right, now it's done. I removed every dynamic value. In the card type ID, we have to re-add the previous AC travel request that we used to name the ID of the card created. In this way, Power Automate Flow is able to figure out that this card is going to be submitted. Now let's start to build another step. First action is working with SharePoint and getting the right list item. So let me type here get item. I have now the right action, so I can see the right site collection. I have to re-add this one as a custom parameter. Now the list travel requests should appear, and in the ID now I have to add a dynamic parameter that I can use when the adaptive card is submitted. It is exactly this one. When the response comes from the first action, I have this dynamic value that you can use, trigger body, entity, and every field, every data or value contained in the data payload, it comes as a card outputs, and then you have to use the parameter that you added in the payload. In my case, it is SP list item ID. Now I can click on save, and now I'm sure that I'm getting exactly the list item submitted from the user. As a next step, I'm going to use the control action, the control connector, and then the switch action. In the first one, I'm going to type as when is on, the switch is on. Let me click on expression, and here, as in the previous step, I'm going to reuse the trigger body, entity, card outputs, and in the payload I defined the parameter action. When the parameter action is equal to approved, something will happen, but I have another step, which is rejected, and finally could be also reassigned. Voila, I have now the three cases that we have seen in the adaptive card before. So let me cover the now the approved step, and let me go with another step to add. In this case, I'm going to type Teams because I need the Teams connector, Microsoft Teams, and then you can find another new action called update an adaptive card in a chat or channel. I'm going to use always the flow bot and post in a channel. Then as a message ID, this is pretty important because identify exactly at the specific point where is the adaptive card to replace. And this comes from the step on top. So here I'm going to reuse again an expression. I have here the parameter just copied, and it is this one: entity, Teams, float around context, message payload, and the ID. This identify in a unique way the ID of the message. Let's click on save. Now it's updated. I have to target now the team, which is travel request, the channel, general, and then the adaptive card that I want to use to replace the existing one. I already copied this before. That's it from a replacement of the adaptive card. Are missing two additional steps, which are the SharePoint list item to update, because in this case the request is approved. Then the list item should be updated with the right status value. Now, here again, I have to provide the site collection URL that I copied before. It's always here available. Let me click on OK. Then the list item, which is the list name, which is travel requests. The ID, it is this one. For every required field, you have to add the value. There's no chance, but for the optional fields you can skip it. They will keep the last value added. And finally, status value. In this case, it's approved. In the approver comments, I'm going to use the same approach. So I'm going to click on expression, and here I'm going to type my parameter. In the approver claims, I'm going to add a custom value, and here an expression. It is this one. This comes from the first step in my flow. It is the Teams flow run context message payload from user and then display name. And let's click on save, OK. And finally, the comments, you can use the same approach. Here I'm going to add another parameter. It is trigger body entity card outputs and comments. Let me save. All done. Finally, the last action. Let me go back. It is Outlook, Office 365 Outlook, and this is the send an email. Here, opening the dynamic value parameter, I can use the get item step. Requester email, the subject, it is the title coming from get item, and here I can say travel request. Then the title, I prefer to use the title coming from the get item action, and here hi requester get item display name, comma, period, again period, your request has been approved. Okay, now let me add kind regards, and it's completed. So let me save. Theoretically, you have to do the same for the rejected, and then you can configure the case tree when is reassigned. But this is how it should work, the last flow. Here I am in the website of Hornetsecurity 365 Total Protection Enterprise. You can find the link in the description of this video or in the upper right corner. Down below, we can see the highlight of this suite. We have spam and malware protection, email encryption, email signatures and disclaimers, advanced threat protection, email archiving, email continuity. And then, very important, we have backup and recovery of mailboxes, Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, and endpoints. Down below, you can find additional capabilities provided by this suite. For example, spam filtering and advanced email security. Here are listed all functionalities: email encryption, continuity and archiving, backup and recovery, and finally signatures and disclaimers. Down below you can have a look also to all companies that currently are using and adopting this service. Let's see now how you can easily set up this service in your tenant. You can take advantage by this great offer, which gives you the chance to test out this service with 30 days of trial period. Now let's start to fill out here this form. I added all my data. This dropped me on the following web page, and here I can move to the next step, which is starting setting up your trial. Here you have to confirm the name of your company, your first name, last name, email and phone number. Then you have some checkbox that you can see and select eventually. And down below you have the instructions how to install this service on your tenant. It's very simple. It takes just some seconds. Let's click on Start Now. Now I have to provide my credential of my tenant, and here I have to accept and grant the permission for this service. I'm going to click on Accept. You have to act as admin of your tenant, of course. Now this requires few seconds to start an initialization process to synchronize all things required to set up the service on your tenant. As you can see here, the process is completed. Your domains, users and groups are being synchronized. I can click now on the Redirect Now button, and this drop me on the panel of Hornetsecurity. I can confirm here by providing some information about time zone, language, data format. I'm going to click on Confirm, and now I have my dashboard where I can monitor everything. Email live tracking, I have the dashboard here, reporting and compliance, deny and allow lists. You have many options here, but as we have seen, it takes just some seconds to set up this service. Alright, we have seen how to refresh existing adaptive cards in Microsoft Teams. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider to subscribe, like, and add a comment down below. Let me know what do you think about this video. Alright, I hope to see you next time. Bye.